Yeah, Henry Miller. We'll be at Henry Miller Park from 10 to 1, and then on Saturday.
All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the November the 20th, I believe. Let me check my watch. November 20th, Merced County Association of Government meeting. We will start off. Would anybody like to give the invocation? Anybody down there? Come on up.
Thank you, God, for bringing us here together today. May everything talked about and talked about here in this meeting go as planned, and may it be for the benefit of everybody. I'm a Catholic. Can I say the Catholic prayer? Our Father? Okay. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Hallowed be those trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation. Amen. Sorry, first time doing this. Wasn't prepared.
Thank you. All right, we will call the meeting to order, and if I could ask Director Ford, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we are going to go to roll call. Joy?
Director Kale?
Here.
Director Reed?
Present.
Director Ford?
Here.
Director Samra? Director Amabil?
Here.
Director Smith?
Present.
Director Pacheco?
Here.
Director Pedroso? Director McDaniel?
Present.
Director Pereira?
Present.
And Chair Silvera?
Present, thank you. We do have a quorum. Moving right along, item number 2 is approval of the agenda. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
I think I got Director Reed as the first and Director Pereira as the second. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Moving along to item number 3, public comment. This is the public comment is available in advance of or during the meeting. See instructions for public comment on page 2 of the agenda packet. Is there any members of the public who wish to address this board? Not seeing anyone, we are going to move right into item number 4, reports and presentations, and we will turn it over to District 10 staff for the Caltrans District 10 update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Good to see you. A couple of new faces. My name is Caleb Brock. I'm the Caltrans District 10 Deputy District Director for Planning, Local Assistance, and Environmental Support. I've got a couple of announcements. First, Anand, who usually comes retired, so he will not be joining us anymore. I did bring Corey Casey, who's acting office chief for project management with me today. And something to think about, we can maybe briefly discuss after Corey goes. Now that I'm permanent, I want to make sure like we're bringing you guys the type of information and updates that's valuable to you, be it projects and timelines, and maybe every quarter it's a little bit larger or whatnot. But just after Corey goes, if we get some feedback from you guys, that'd be great. First thing is we have a new acting chief deputy at Caltrans, Dave Moore, who's the current District 2 director, which is up in the northern part of the state near Reading. He'll be in place until the new chief deputy is appointed. A friendly reminder that tomorrow the Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Planning grant applications are due. And then we've had a very exciting kind of 6 weeks in District 10. We had our annual employee recognition day last week. Recognized a lot of our staff and the great work that they do. On October 22nd, we hosted the annual Caltrans Directors Town Hall meetings. We had folks from kind of around the state, and it was also broadcasted around the state too. So we got to kind of showcase some cool things that we were doing in Stockton and the District 10 area. And then obviously we hosted, or you guys hosted, the CTC meeting in Merced. So just a lot of exciting things that I've been talking around with my colleagues around the state, and it's just very exciting. And just want to give you all kudos, especially and Stacy and her team. You guys did a great job showcasing Merced and Merced County, and it's the third time I've watched that video during the CTC meeting, and it's just really brings a lot of pride to the valley and the region. So. And then lastly, I had a follow-up item for Chair Silvera, and this is the follow-up. So the State Route 165, Henry Miller Road intersection north of Los Banos is on our radar. We have collected traffic data. We will be requesting a 20-year design life forecast and complete a traffic operation analysis report, or TOR, and route a conceptual report to operations improvement at this location. The typical timeline for this is about 4 months, and so once the conceptual report is signed and approved, I'll bring it back to the board and give you guys a little presentation. So probably the May board meeting, I'll come back with more information. And so I'll pause there before bringing Corey up to see if there's any questions on any of those specific things.
All right, Director McDaniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I don't have a question. I just wanted to acknowledge your lapel pin, and we appreciate you guys having the same goal that we have here, finish the 99. So thank you for that.
I've reached out because these are a very hot item. I was down in District 6 in Fresno on Tuesday, and everybody who I used to work with was like, "Where'd you get that?" I was like, "We should have went to CTC in Merced. Adam, they were hot."
That's right.
Right, any other directors have any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Caleb, and I guess we'll have
Over to
Corey coming up.
Corey.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as Caleb said, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Corey Casey. I'm currently acting. We split our district into a north and south for our project management. So I'm acting as the project office chief for the north projects, and then recently with the retirement, I've taken over acting role for the south projects as well. So I've been acting here for just a couple weeks. I'm fairly familiar with the majority of the projects, but so I've prepared an update on some of the projects I thought were hotter topics for you today, so we can go through and I'll give you a status on them. And then if you have questions on anything that I don't mention today, I'm happy to answer that. But as you said, I've only taken this over about 2 weeks, so I might have to get back to you on a few of them. So with that, we'll go to our first slide, please. So I just wanted to do a kind of high-level overview of what really we have going on in Merced County. I'm not really privy to what Anon has presented to you in the past, so I put together some talking points that I thought you guys would be interested in. So overall, right now, we have our 2026 shop coming up. We're getting ready to vote on that for this next fiscal year. In that shop, we have only one project programmed in Merced County, but that is a very sizable project. It's a $155 million project. It makes up a big portion, like 24% of our total shop cycle there. So it's a fairly large project. In addition, that project, it's bringing some complete street elements, so 4,400 linear feet of Class 1 and Class 4 bike path through Los Banos. And so although we only have one project in our 2026 shop, we do have quite a few projects in our 2024 shop that we're actively working on right now. With everything that we're working on, just in P&ED and PS&E, we have 15 proposed projects that we're working on to deliver, and the total value of everything that we're working on currently for Merced County is $345 million worth of capital improvement projects. So, and those are made up of, pavement rehabilitation. That's our primary asset. We also have 5 safety projects. Most of those are intersection control improvement projects. We have 1 complete street project, and then we have 1 ITS project, and then 1 facility project for us as well. So, next slide, please. So 1 project that we're bringing up to is a safety project in Planada. This is a intersection control improvement project Anon may have presented on to you in the past. This project, was just recently, and sorry, it's kind of hard to follow, but it's a roundabout, and we're proposing in Plainsburg. and Highway 140. The project is going to award any day. It's been advertised. We're expecting construction operations to begin as planned, probably sometime in the spring 2026. So on to the next one. All right. So funding, this is about a $5 million project. Talked about award, construction operations in the spring. We're expecting completion sometime in late summer 2026. So, sorry, 2027. That was the wrong date on there. All right, it's the Merced 165 intersection control improvement project at Gear Avenue. This one is an ongoing construction contract, but it probably haven't seen much work happen out there yet. And the reason for that is our contractor that we brought on board had some issues with their electrical sub and ordering some of the long lead items. Some of the poles and things there's very specialty, and there's only a few manufacturers for the lighting and luminaires, and there's a 20-month lead time on that statewide. That's for everybody who orders those. So that process is starting. We're expecting to begin construction operations this summer, though, by June. The next one is the rest area project that we have going on. The northbound is open. The southbound, we're nearing completion on that and getting ready to open there. We have some components that we've ordered for the wastewater treatment system that need to be replaced. And once we're expecting to have those components in and replaced by the end of December. So we're targeting end of December to open up the southbound. Another project, the Merced Pavement Anchor Project. So this is a project that we have. It hasn't began construction yet. We just recently RTL'd it. This project, it's a G13 project. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but what that means is we programmed this project through PSNE, and construction isn't funds for the G13 projects. They're not programmed. So, and we have 2 projects in our district that are like that. And then how those work is if so there's a surplus of funds, then we can program those for construction and move forward. So right now we're waiting on our allocation for this. We've RTL'd it, and we're just waiting, to see if funds are available so we can move forward with construction. So our start date is a little bit up in the air, but eventually it will be programmed and we'll move forward and bring that to construction. So I'll have more of an update on the schedule for that, in the coming meetings, but that's where we are with it. Los Banos 152 pavement anchor project. This is from 152 and 33 to Midway Road. We're just finishing up our 95% plans and specs package. So it's currently in design right now. We're on schedule to RTL this in June 2026 with some risk. And construction operations would likely begin in 2027. So we do have some risk with just utility relocations and acquiring temporary construction easements with some of the private property owners for the ADA improvements. Next project. Our next slide, please. Okay, this is at SR 59 intersection control improvement project at Gerald Avenue. We do expect to RTL this. This is a safety project. We do expect to RTL this project by the end of January, and so construction operations here would likely start in late summer 2026. Next one. Oh, that's it. All right. Any questions for me?
All right. Any directors have any questions or comments? Director Pereira.
Yeah, we also, or I think you also have a project at State Route 165 and August Avenue. It's kind of a complete streets project through Hillmar, but it's to relieve some flooding.
Right.
So if we could get do you have an update on that? Or?
That project, I do know a little bit about it. We're still in P&ED, which means we're in the environmental phase. I know that we're still on track and on schedule. I would say our budget is a little bit higher than what we would like it to be, but recent trends in the market, with the bids coming in, have been coming in a lot lower. So we're hoping that trend continues. And
Don't tell that to the contractors.
yeah. So, but that project is on schedule. We're currently in the environmental phase, and we're still on target for completion of our environmental document.
Okay, and so a start date then hasn't been picked yet. Is that what you're kind of alluding to?
Yeah, I don't have the RTL date probably right off the top of my head for that one, but if you'd like, I can get you guys an answer on the start date for that.
Sure, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Director Kale.
Yes, I have a question. I know they were working on a project for the Applegate overpass in the city of Atwater. Do you know where that is standing? About 6 months ago, we had a conference call with one of your guys, and he was working on that. I was just interested where that stands.
I'm not familiar with that one, but I can get back to you as well on that.
Great, appreciate it.
Director Kale, was that the interchange? Is it part of the 99 project, or was it?
I don't believe it.
Okay.
It's a standalone overpass over the 99.
Got it. So probably not the interchange, just the overpass structure work. Got it.
Right.
We can connect on that too.
Right. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, sir. And it was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Oh, moving forward, Caleb had mentioned kind of what you were looking for from us, right? And I was hoping maybe, it doesn't have to maybe be decided today, but the monthly update, from our perspective, like not a lot happens in a month, for us, but maybe a quarterly update would be more appropriate, or just how, like, what you're really looking for from us and the type of information, so we can make sure we're communicating, in a way that you guys want to receive it. And
Director Pryor?
Sure. I guess from my standpoint, and I think some up here, is, sometimes Caltrans gets stuff started and then it just kind of stops, right? And we don't know why. And so the check-ins to let us know you're still working on it, right, is one aspect that is valuable to me. And quarterly is probably fine for that. The other thing that we do here, and there wasn't a lot of it today, but it's kind of talking about like sunshine and issues to you guys. And so that could be done, I think, maybe, or whatever, but that Stacy once a month could email us and ask if you have any issues for Caltrans, and she could email that on to you. And so you don't have to come every month and be here, but yet we still feel like we can communicate with you.
I think that would be great if you guys can have kind of like a list of things, like as you're generating these questions, right? And then you can send those to us, and we can either, like, depending on what the question is, we can just simply respond to it, or maybe at our quarterly we can give you a detailed presentation on it, and then make sure that we're answering, giving you guys the information you're looking for.
So I can only speak for myself. As far as the updates on the projects, I think that going through a slide presentation and giving us quarterly updates on that, I think is sufficient, because you're right, there's not a lot of movement in between from one month to the other. But I know for myself, it's very helpful to have you guys here every month, because over the course of a month, we come across issues, right? And I know countless times where constituent comes to me with an issue, and I'm like, oh, hey, my MCAG meeting's coming up in a week or 2 weeks, and I'm able to share those concerns with you. And I think we're all fully well aware that you're not going to have an answer to that situation right there, but we're making you aware of it. And then when you come back the next month, we can get an update, just kind of like what you did today on Henry Miller and Mercy Springs. So I don't know, I think that would still be where you don't have to do the full slide deck of going over the same 13 projects every month and updating, but having at least one of you here to be able to kind of hear those concerns. I know, at least in for me, I know that it didn't get lost in translation somewhere. There's a record, because they record these, that says that we were able to put those on the record. Is that something that you guys could still continue with?
Yeah, so I'll be coming each month.
Okay.
And then maybe I'll bring Corey once a quarter.
Yeah.
And then if there are specific things that you guys want updates, let Stacy know. She can let me know, and I can, be sure to. I'll be prepared for that, because I'm not the engineer. I'm the planner, but I know who to get the information from. So
Very
as
good.
long as you let me know what you need, I can bring it.
I think something along those lines, and we'll obviously work through Stacy to kind of pass that along to you guys, exactly kind of what we're looking for. So thank you so much. All right, are there any other questions, comments? Okay, moving right along to item number 5. These are information items. These items are included for informational purposes. No presentation will be made by staff unless board members have any questions. Are there any members of the board that would like to ask a question? Not seeing anyone, we will move right along to item 6. This is the consent calendar. All consent calendar items listed below may be acted upon with one vote unless specifically removed for a separate consideration by a member of the board, a member of staff, or a member of the public. So, McDaniel made a motion. I'm going to open it up for public comment. Is there any public comment on item 6A, the consent calendar? Actually, we're doing 6A, B, and C. Don't have any public comments, so we have a motion by Director McDaniel. Is there a second?
Second by Reed.
I think I got Director Pacheco in right before you, Director Reed. So motion by McDaniel, second by Pacheco. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Moving along, Merced County Association of Governments, item 7. These are action items, and they will be considered separately by the board. Public comment will be available during each item. Item 7A is approve the Service Authority for Freeway Emergencies Safe Strategic Plan, and we will go to Ray.
Good afternoon, directors. So we're happy to present the final draft of the SAFE strategic plan. So this plan was conducted with the help of our consultant, and our staff and consultants have evaluated the background, the needs assessments. We have held stakeholder meetings, actually 2 meetings, gathered the opinion, questions and comments from broad stakeholders, and we identified the goals of the SAFE program, and we select from various program options, including demand management, interagency communication, traveler information, transit access. So eventually, we by using the evaluation criteria, we figured out building up a 511 platform would be a feasible and a preferred option for using SAFE money. So then we have drafted the implementation plan to write the goals and priorities of the implementation, and we have the rough estimate of the cost for building up this 511 website, and also the following up steps, including establishing the 511 platform, marketing the platform, and then build out the platform with the room of creating a mobile application, and also crowdsourcing more information, including the help from our jurisdictions on other road information, such as construction and maintenance work. So that would be left for the future enhancement of this 501 platform. So currently, this 501 platform we have a startup cost estimate about $120,000 to $180,000 to start to build up this website, and the maintenance will include both consultant and staff time. That by comparing with similar level and size of the 511 programs in other jurisdictions, other counties, it's roughly $200,000 a year. But however, this cost estimate doesn't represent the actual RFP. So we'll be having RFP later after the board approve this SAFE strategic plan. So at this moment, there's no fiscal impact by approving this plan. Any questions?
Right, are there any questions? Not seeing any. Is there any questions from members of the public on item 7A?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Oh,
Thank
Director Smith?
Can you give us just a snapshot of what were the projects that were considered and didn't make the cut?
So this 511 website would include definitely some map information. We will connect Caltrans and other state agencies mapping information to get the travelers' road information, like the travel time, congestion level, and many other like road closure, weather impacts, and also will include some other information, say from federal agencies, especially for some concerns, especially for this county, for Merced County, will consider the flood information into this travelers information, because if having flood, we may have the impact on the road system. And we may also, as I mentioned, want to ask information feed from local jurisdictions, from the cities and the county, in case of the construction and the maintenance. So currently, we do not have a mature system to include all this information to broadcast to the public.
Is the proposed site going to have real-time traffic data, like SIG alert?
Yes, I would say this will be the real-time information to publish on the website. From the state, we'll be relying on the Caltrans map information, which is real-time, and also they will have the real-time camera information as well on the major state roads.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Is it who will host it? Who's going to host the website? Would that be hosted within MCAG?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Are there any other questions? All right. If there are no further questions, Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Director Amabile. Is there a second? We have a second by Director Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 7B. This is authorize a Measure V fare subsidy program for the duration of the federal government shutdown, and we will go to Director Guzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will say we do not need action on this item at this point, as the federal government has reopened. But I do want to report out that we did resume fares as of November 17th. On our transit system. But had I had more time between when we realized this was going to be an issue and we were very thankfully able to react quickly to get a fair program in place to help people, I think that it would be prudent for us to spend some time to think about putting a policy in place that allows for some flexibility to address emergency situations. We've been in similar situations when we've had flooding. This was a newer situation for us, but we already provide free service when it comes to other climate issues like extreme heat or extreme cold. So having a program in place that would allow for the flexibility to respond quickly. In this exact instance, we were okay in the sense that because of the the expenditure authority that I have in my position, that I was able to respond quickly. This was in place in the event that we were anticipating that the shutdown was going to last beyond it. So last thing is I'll also mention that once we have our ridership data, we'll be able to report back what that final cost was and the total number of rides we were able to provide during the last few weeks of the shutdown.
Any questions by members of the board? Are there any questions by members of the public on this item? Do you want to table it? I was going to suggest that maybe not take action, but just kind of maybe take some guidance as to, staff. I know it's not our normal, but since you asked for it, is kind of have staff expend some time coming up with a policy so that everybody's covered, that you're not getting too far outside of what you think your authority is. But if something like this comes up, and I do want to take the opportunity to thank you guys, as I know as this became highlighted at the county level, that Director Checkley had reached out to folks, and I know you had reached out to them as like an all hands on deck approach to what we were dealing with that. And so if staff wanted to kind of, it doesn't need to happen immediately, and I won't ask for a time for it to come back by, but be thinking about coming up with a policy that the board can take a look at and potentially vote on, that kind of sets some parameters around that and gives you some authority so that everybody's covered in their decision making.
Perfect.
Is that good with you, Director Amabile?
Yes.
Okay. All right. No action on this item. We're going to move on to item 7C. This is the adoption of the 2026 Regional Transportation Improvement Plan via Resolution 2025/11-20-04, and we will go to Elizabeth.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The Regional Transportation Improvement Program was discussed by this board in October as far as the strategy for the program. And just to kind of back up on that a little bit, every 2 years, the state puts together what's called the STIP. You'll hear us say that a lot. State Transportation Improvement Program. 75% of the funding for the STIP goes to the regions for us to kind of choose our projects. 25% goes to Caltrans to put on interregional projects. And every 2 years we get an estimate of what our share is. So last time it was like 16 million, and this time it's just under 5. So it can vary. There's times where it's been like almost zero, depending on the revenue that's coming in for the state. So it varies quite a bit. This year, in October, the board voted to propose to include about 4.4 million to the Atwater Merced Expressway. So the Atwater Merced Expressway currently has 45 million of these funds in fiscal year 27-28. And the decision was to propose adding the additional about 4.4 to the Atwater Merced Expressway. So just adding it to that year. Other options when we do this could be, a new project, or you can hold the funds for later. So we did put out the draft RTIP. It was on our website. We had a public hearing. It was in the paper and all that. So we didn't receive any comments. So this item is just requesting the approval of the RTIP, which we will then submit to the CTC, and it would be adopted in the spring.
And just for clarification, deadline to submit to the state is December 15th, 2025?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions for Elizabeth on this item? All right. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on item 7C? Not seeing anyone. We have a motion by Director McDaniel. Is there a second? Director Pereira is the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We doing okay, Joy? Okay, very good. Moving on to item 8. These items will be presented separately in order to allow board members to ask questions or to provide staff direction. Item 8A is the review proposed improvement strategies and projects for the Merced Regional Multimodal Access Plan, and we will go to Meg.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, directors. Late last year, we contracted with VRPA Technologies to develop the Merced Regional Multimodal Access Plan, also known as Mr. MAP. The purpose of this project was to identify some multimodal projects to connect to existing transit and future passenger rail. And we developed a draft technical memorandum that outlines 18 projects that the plan is proposing. We included the executive summary in the staff report, but we also have Carolina Illick here. She's going to go through a short presentation just to give you an overview of some of the projects. Right now we're soliciting feedback on the technical memo through November 28th. And with that, I'll turn it over to Carolina.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. Good afternoon, directors, Mr. Chairman. I'm so pleased to be here. My name is Carolina Illick. As Meg mentioned, I'm a Principal Transportation Planner at VRPA Technologies, and I'm here to provide you with an overview of the 18 projects that we've identified to date and see if you have any comments. So we'll go ahead and get started. One of the pieces of this project was to develop what we call a story map, which you see on the screen in front of you. And essentially, there is so much happening in Merced County, including the widening of the freeway effort, but as well as that, rail projects, the potential ACE rail, proposed ACE rail coming in, the high-speed rail coming in, UC Merced College, the Merced Expressway, so many different things happening. And so we wanted to try to capture all of the activity in one place so it would be a good way to talk about and have a conversation about the projects happening in the region. Is this, okay, you're doing do the slides for me? Okay, thank you. So we conducted a variety of outreach efforts, and based on that outreach and based on some technical analysis, we came up with 18 different potential projects. You'll see here that we listed them by category and also by the various cities, which would be more directly impacted. So in terms of transit, one project, an express bus route from UC Merced to downtown Transpo Center in the city of Merced, several microtransit projects which I'll go through in detail, 2 mobility hub projects, and 11 active transportation projects. Next slide. So one of the biggest projects that's proposed is a new express bus route that would connect UC Merced, Merced College, and downtown Merced. And currently the UC Merced route it's a great route. It operates at about 38 minutes or so. And it doesn't make a direct connection necessarily. There are a lot of one-way loops that make it take up more time. And so in our outreach, we heard that there was a lot of support for an express route to connect. And so we looked at how we could potentially map that. And you see here a direct connection from UC Merced coming down to Merced College, where we're also proposing a mobility hub, which I'll talk about in a little bit more detail in the next couple slides, and then going directly into downtown and either ending at the Transpo Center or the future high-speed rail station. That also would be connected by that blue rectangle there, which is basically a microtransit area, which I'll also talk about in a little bit more detail. And so that would shave off about 10 minutes from that trip, and it would probably take somewhere around 28 minutes to complete that trip. Next slide, please. We also are proposing a couple of microtransit zones. So Merced has one very large Western Merced microtransit paratransit zone in the western area that serves the communities of Los Banos, Dos Palos, Santanella, and Gustine, and those can all be connected then through the Los Banos commuter service that comes in. And then in the eastern part of Merced, you have your Merced ADA paratransit zone, which serves many of the eastern communities. And so that western Merced portion is well served, and the effort was to try to be able to get people in multimodal way into access the high-speed rail and the other services in downtown. Next slide, please. So the 4 proposed zones I'm going to describe here in a moment. So the first one is a proposed Eastern Merced microtransit zone, and you see here that there's the existing route is the M6. It has several loops in it, and so the idea would be to remove that loop, the M6, and instead replace service in the proposed zone that's in that blue rectangle. And essentially that's a 4.2 square mile area. Again, it would replace the existing M6 olive loops route, and you could, as a passenger, have any drop-offs or pickups within that blue zone, and any bus stops along G Street, as well as at that Merced College mobility hub. Next slide, please. So then the next one is a proposed Southwest Merced microtransit zone, and you see here that the route M1 is a long route, and this proposed microtransit zone would replace the southern segment of the M1 route. This is about a 1.6 square mile area in Southwest Merced. This would allow drop-offs and pickups within that zone, and that would allow those drop-offs to the future integrated rail station, to the proposed express bus route, the terminus of that, the Transpo Center on 16th Street, any bus stops along M3 in the zone, and bus stops along 16th Street. So that would help to replace that very windy one-way service in that area and provide significantly more time-efficient connections to the other places within the zone or the bus stops connecting to that zone. Next slide, please. The next proposed microtransit zone is a proposed Atwater. And you can see here that, well, this is the largest of the areas. This is an 8.7 square mile area. And this would eliminate that portion of the route that's highlighted in yellow. So also a very long one-way route with a couple of loops that come off that route. And essentially you would be able to have pickups and drop-offs anywhere within that zone, as well as at the future ACE rail station, the bus stops along the A2 Winton route, the Livingston commuter, the Turlock commuter, and the W1 Winton commuter. And then the last microtransit zone, next slide please, is a proposed Livingston microtransit zone, and this would this is a 2.5 square mile area, and this would eliminate that section of the Livingston commuter south of 99, and essentially would be able to have drop-offs at the future ACE rail station, any bus stops along the Turlock commuter, connections to the Livingston New Livingston commuter route. So those are the 4 proposed microtransit zone areas that are included in the Mr. Map plan. Next slide, please. So now moving along to the proposed mobility hubs, we've identified 2 locations where we think mobility hubs could be particularly successful. One at Merced College, as I discussed a little earlier, and one in downtown. So the Merced College one is actually fairly convenient because that would be in the very middle of the route of the new proposed express bus route. And so it'd be the perfect place to stop. Also, there's a lot of activity at Merced College, and there's a lot of development that's happening around Merced College. And also Mercy Hospital is right catty corner. So there's a lot of activity there that mobility hub could help encompass. And then you could have direct drop-offs and pickups from the microtransit zone shown in the blue. And then a proposed mobility hub in downtown, which could either be at the Transpo Center on 16th Street or at the future high-speed rail station. And so, thank you. And so we worked with, one of the components of this project was to develop a couple of visual simulations. You saw the first one, which was a story map. The second one is a visual simulation. We worked with Merced College and our partners to try to illustrate what a mobility hub at Merced College could look like. And what you see here is a variety of transportation modes coming together to really provide multimodal transportation services in a variety of ways to all of the different uses in that particular area. Next slide, please. So we have also included 11 proposed active transportation projects. We looked thoroughly through the 2024 Regional Active Transportation Plan to come up with these proposed projects. And so there are projects proposed in the 3 cities here. 5 projects proposed in the city of Merced. You can see some north-south and some east-west routes. 3 in the city of Atwater and 3 in the city of Livingston, which we can talk in more detail if you'd like to. So in summary, we have these 18 proposed projects. We have identified the planning level cost estimates for these proposed projects. You can see them listed on the slide. In total, that comes up to about $38 million. We've also identified annual operating costs where we can identify that. The mobility hubs, we don't have that yet. There would have to be leases and agreements and all these different things for micro-mobility services. So that would have to come later. And then we've tried to also look at the benefits. And so what are the benefits of these kinds of projects and how many VMT per year do they save? And when we did the calculation, overall, if all of these projects were implemented, it would be something like 27 times around the earth of travel that would be reduced. So next slide, please. So the next steps for the project are we are in the public review period right now. We have received comments that we're sorting through, and that may influence or affect some of the proposed projects, or we may add 1 or 2 projects depending on what that looks like. We will make some revisions and recommendations, and then if desired, we'll come back here for a final set of presentations, and then we would hope to release this plan for the local jurisdictions to incorporate some of these planned projects into their planning efforts. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you. Meg, did you have anything else you wanted to add? No? All right. Are there any questions? Director Smith.
Thank you for the presentation. A lot of work went into this.
Thank you.
Can you give me a little bit more detail on the timeline? So right now we're in public comment. How long is that revision recommendation window?
So we released the draft report that's in your packet in early November. It's been a 30-day public review period, and that closes at the very end of November. And then depending on how many comments we get, like I mentioned, we have already gotten a lot of comments. And so it depends on how long it takes us to, address all those comments, and then we'll come back. We're thinking most likely in January would be the time that we would be able to bring the report back for your final consideration.
So probably like a lot of people here, you're following what's going on with high-speed rail and ACE.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So if there's a material change in the rail plans, does that change the recommendations materially that requiring a revise?
I'm glad that you asked that question. We have certainly, this project was very much spurred by the high-speed rail project and the multimodal transportation options to get to the integrated rail station. And as we've done this analysis, what we've really concluded is that independently, these projects will still very much support active transportation and other transportation modes in Merced County. So we're very pleased with that. This idea of this more direct connection between UC Merced and downtown, and with Merced College in the middle, regardless of whether the high-speed rail station comes or not. That is going to be a very valuable project, which is going to generate a lot of demand and ridership for that. The microtransit projects, they're so beneficial to the people that need access in those communities, and can be very, very much more convenient for passengers to be able to access the other transit routes and stops and other locations within those zones. The bike projects, as you all know, critical for active transportation. And like I mentioned, we looked at the regional ATP, and I should have mentioned to those we added costs of lighting and shade, because during the public outreach, those were two key components. And so your active transportation plan includes a certain set of costs, but the Mr. Map project has increased those costs to reflect construction of lighting and added shade canopy and the maintenance. And so those are the kinds of things that I think eventually can go to the local jurisdictions for additional consideration. Hopefully I'm answering your question.
No, you are. And you're right. You know, a lot of the recommendations really are not dependent on rail plans. Would the recommendations for downtown Merced and Atwater by the proposed A station, those would change though, right?
Well, maybe not. Whether the ACE rails come to fruition or not, the microtransit projects are still valid in and of themselves, because they still provide greater access within the communities and to the commuter routes. And the bike projects are still really helpful to get people around and into the downtown areas, with or without the ACE rail stations.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think Carolina did a great job addressing that, and I'll just add that all of these projects, especially when we talk about the connection to the station location, it's still providing critical connection to our transit hubs. So our neighbor to the station is planned to be immediately adjacent to the transpo. So these bike paths and these other services bringing people there will still have a great benefit in connecting them to our broader transit system. So I think it's great. Thank you.
Are there any other members of the board wish to ask any questions? Director Pereira?
Yeah. I guess in the study, did you, and I didn't see it, but maybe I missed it, did you quantify like increased usage of what that could be or would be?
In terms of, for example, transit ridership or increased usage, additional bicyclists, that kind of thing? Yeah. We did.
Okay.
We did an analysis based on certain assumptions, and that is included in the report, and that's how we actually got to the estimated reduction of trips 27 times around the Earth calculations, and it's calculated in vehicle miles traveled.
Okay, and so that's in this somewhere that I missed?
Sorry, I might just add that.
Yeah.
So the attachment to the staff report is just the executive summary, but if you click on the link in the report, there's a really large appendix that goes over all of the cost-benefit analyses. We just didn't want to kill too many trees.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just finding, I'll go look at it, but what's happened in Merced County for 20 years of me watching is that we give free rides, and our ridership on the bus goes from 3 people to 6 people, right? We're running a big bus with nobody on it. So I just want to make sure that this stuff addresses those not concerns, but those items, and that we have a realistic expectation of what this might do. We spent millions of dollars building bike paths, and nobody rides on them, right? I mean, they don't. And the people that do ride bikes in downtown Merced ride down the center of the street doing wheelies, right? So anyways, I just hope that that'll kind of be addressed.
May I comment on that?
I'd love for you to.
Okay, thank you so much for that comment. I really appreciate that. I think on the express bus route, it's worth noting that is kind of the highest demand corridor. And so that one, and that would not replace the existing route, that would supplement the existing route. And that's projected to have quite a few riders. I don't remember the statistics off the top of my head, but that is in the report. And we do anticipate, with all of the land uses coming, that the growth is going to really add ridership to that over time. So I think that will be a successful project. There's no doubt that these projects are expensive, and that this would be a future investment, absolutely. With regard to the active transportation projects, the bike projects, one of the projects in the city of Merced, the one along G Street, had originally been proposed as a bike project, but in discussing with the City of Merced staff and internally, we thought this looks like a really good opportunity for a multi-use path, which would really allow bicyclists and pedestrians and people on their scooters and all these different things to have more access. And I think the biggest thing that we can do to get more people to use these active transportation infrastructure facilities once they get built is to have them feel like low stress transportation environments for the users. So if people don't feel comfortable, or they feel afraid, or they feel like they might get hit by a car, or they feel like it's not shaded, it's too hot, or they feel like there's not enough light and it's not safe at night, they will not use them. But once you start to add these other features like the lighting and the street canopy, you are going to see significantly more riders, because it will be a much more low stress environment for bicycle riders, and they'll feel more protected. And that has a lot of other benefits that can't be quantified, but that are also discussed. We did a benefit cost analysis in the report, and that is discussed in the report in case you're interested in taking a closer look at that.
One follow-up question. So during your report, you talked about the shading. I'm thinking it's along the way there's spots of shade, but your comment now, just are we shading the whole thing?
Yeah, no, it's impossible to shade an entire corridor, but I think it's looking at eventually having the space to plant street trees and trees that provide a canopy of shade, so that there's enough shade that it makes it comfortable to walk or bike. And this also becomes a bit of an equity issue, because there are many people that do not have a vehicle, or that maybe share a vehicle and other family members are using it. And so to make our active transportation facilities as comfortable as possible for everyone to be able to use, whether or not they have a vehicle, is really important.
Gotcha. Thanks.
And I just want to add, for the microtransit, those are opportunities where we saw that we are going to the proposal would be to discontinue the fixed route in those areas. So that's actually taking out the large bus that's just running in loop, and make it into what we're seeing has been very successful over the last, I think now 5 years on the west side, that we remove those fixed route routes, put in a microtransit, which is the smaller paratransit bus, and it's only operating on demand. So you're not having a bus that's just running in circles with maybe a rider or two. In fact, that's what the design of switching into a microtransit system is where you're taking out low performing fixed routes that aren't really getting a lot of ridership, and you're actually able to put in a more convenient, smaller bus that is only operating when it's needed. So I just wanted to point that out for the comment of run-in buses that maybe don't get a lot of additional ridership.
Okay. So 3 or 4 years ago, we did a study on the buses, right? And y'all come back and said the big buses are the way to go. We're not doing small buses. So now we're changing. What's changed?
No, we need the large buses where the large buses are warranted. So if we're just looking at, we have a corridor that's sustaining ridership, it's going to be better to buy the bigger bus, because it's going to last longer. The smaller buses are not built to just run and run and run and run. So when we're talking about shifting to a microtransit, those buses aren't going to just be running like a fixed route. They're running as they were designed, really no different than paratransit. So it's if the route were to stay the same, and you say, okay, we're going to run this fixed route every day, putting the large bus on is the best choice, because it's going to have the wear and tear. It's built for it. When you have a smaller bus, you're not running that small bus in microtransit like a fixed route. You're only operating it when it's needed, so it's still not getting the wear and tear, and you're able to right size. Where the rub was that we were having was when you have a fixed route that is sustained, and we want to continue the fixed route, should we put a smaller bus on that fixed route because our ridership doesn't fill a full bus? And that's where there's the calculation, because you may not need all 40 feet of that. Well, now we're going down to 29. I was close. So now we've right sized from 40 foot to 29 foot, still getting the durability of the larger bus, but not having as many empty seats for the fixed route. So does that make sense? Okay.
Thanks.
Could I add one more?
Nothing gets past you.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to add one more thing. In the report for each of the microtransit zones, we do quantify sort of the change in access to transit riders. So, for example, I'll take the Eastern Merced microtransit zone, for example. So this would that zone that we showed would serve approximately 19,000 residents and 2,100 jobs, compared to the current Route M6 coverage of 9,500 residents and 2,000 jobs within a quarter-mile radius of the stops. So we look at the quarter-mile radius of the stops, how many people are served, how many jobs are served. When you eliminate that and you look at the broader area, this would represent a 103% increase in population and a 5% increase in employment served by transit. And each of the zones has those kind of metrics. So it's really about that accessibility to get to locations within the zone and to get to other bus stops that could then provide service further along or a little bit further away geographically.
And I just think that it's the microtransit has really worked well on the west side, where it's just, instead of running the big bus through some of these routes that I've seen just like you have, you're looking and like, is there anybody in there? Is there one? Maybe one? A while, you see two? And it's taking those now for that one-off rider that needs to go from here to here, and then it doesn't necessarily take it to their final destination, but it takes it to another fixed route and adds them to that. So I think, and so I guess the next question is this strategy is being proposed, is being done because of the whole multimodal, hopefully, maybe, probably not, high-speed rail is going to come situation. But it's obviously made some recommendations that the bus could actually take advantage of. And the hope is we don't have to go spend the money from the bus to go do the same study to find out the same stuff, right? We all have access to this same information.
Absolutely. And in fact, we've been working very closely with everyone on the staff, Stacy, Meg, Elizabeth, Serenity, the City of Merced staff, others, to make this comprehensive and inclusive, and including the representatives from Merced College on the Mobility Hub.
Perfect. And then my last comment before we open up for public comment is so much of this stuff is mandated to us by the state, and so we really don't have a decision to make whether we want to do this or not. It's where I feel like it's incumbent upon us is, here's what we're told to do. How do we best be fiscally responsible in managing that system? And I still think that it was kind of like a pilot in the beginning, if you will, the microtransit out there on the west side, and I think it's proven really well, and I think you're probably going to see that migrate over here to the east side, so that we can actually, I would just feel better knowing that taxpayer dollars are going to if not pay for, subsidize a lot of these buses that you see riding up and down the road, that we see buses with people on them, because it's very disheartening when we know, because we see the numbers, we hear what it costs to replace a bus and then when you go out there in the public and you see one or two people on them, it's kind of you say to yourself, this doesn't seem like this is the best use of our resources. So, all right. If there are no other questions from the board, I will open it up for public comment on this item. Mind you, this is an informational item, so no action will be taken. Not seeing anyone. Ladies, thank you both. We're moving on to item 8B. This is the overview of the draft health and environmental justice analysis maps, and we will go to Meg again.
Thank you. So you may recall in August, we gave an overview of the health and environmental justice analysis that we started working on with Ramey and Associates. This work provides data and mapping tools that are needed for the environmental justice analysis as part of the 2026 RTP. It's a requirement because most of Merced County, so the reason we're doing this, part of this reason we're doing this study is because to do the analysis, we have to be able to compare disadvantaged communities compared to not disadvantaged communities, and we can't use the statewide tools because most of Merced County is identified as a disadvantaged community. So we need more locally relevant thresholds to complete the required analysis. So today's item is just to give you an update on the methodology that we've developed to identify disadvantaged and vulnerable areas, along with the draft maps. And we have Paige Cruza online, who's going to go through a presentation, and there's also a story map linked in the staff report that you can view as well. So I'll turn it over to Paige.
Great, thanks so much. Meg. All right, just making sure. Is the screen sharing working all right? Hopefully it is, just confirming.
It is.
Okay. Nice to be with y'all this afternoon. Just echoing what Meg has said in the staff report and before, the health and environmental justice analysis for the RTP-SES meets helps the RTP-SES meet multiple federal requirements, and also state requirements. Where's my mouse? There we go. Including ensuring that there is robust identification of and engagement with vulnerable communities within Merced County, and a quantitative and qualitative analysis of any possible disparate impacts from the projects in the RTP-SES. A brief update about community engagement that we have completed. We'll be reporting this out to you in more detail in January, but we conducted collected intercept surveys at 8 events. These were 2-page paper surveys in English and Spanish, conducted 2 focus groups, one with parents, one with high school students, who also completed an abbreviated survey, and conducted 7 interviews. And these were in partnership with our partner Youth Leadership Institute. Through that, we have engaged with residents and organizations serving all of these communities throughout the county, so clearly not all of them, but most of the populated areas. And the topics addressed in those data collection and engagement tools, all of them collected information around various transportation-related topics. And then, because the final portion of this project for us is developing a community engagement toolkit for MCAG's future use, we also collected some data on best ways to engage with vulnerable communities, specifically related to social media apps and their preferences on how to receive information. The community survey and focus groups focused on getting information about individuals, residents, and their perspectives. And the key leader interviews were with people who have developed their expertise in entire communities through their professional and personal experiences. The focus groups and interviews, as is normally the case, have collected much more nuanced information than the survey. So going into really the focus of the presentation today, the health and environmental justice analysis here, map methodology. So ultimately what we're using for this are 2 of the maps, and the map that will be used for assessing doing the EJ analysis for the RTP projects ultimately are TAZs, so transportation or traffic analysis zones that are used by MCAG and other MPOs as a sort of basis for transportation modeling, including for the RTP-SES. Merced County has 843 TAZs. There's about 13 TAZs in every census tract, and they're smaller than both census tracts and block groups, and so allow for some more focused information. The mapping methodologies, after going through a few iterations and getting feedback from the RTP roundtable twice, we ultimately have 3 sets of maps. Vulnerable communities map on the left, the orange, that uses census tracts, and then disadvantaged community TAZs on the right, that all of the red is disadvantaged, and then the dark red is a subset that's identified as severely disadvantaged TAZs. The identification criteria throughout, all of the maps use socioeconomic disadvantage and concentration of residents of color as key metrics. Those are also relevant to the Title VI analysis that the RTP-SES will also have to do. The vulnerable community maps, because they're at the larger geography of census tracts, also considers pollution burden from the Cal-Enviro screen, as well as concentration of linguistically isolated households in the county. To be identified as a census tract that's a vulnerable community, the census tract can meet any of these 4 or more than one of these criteria. The disadvantaged community and severely disadvantaged community TAZs focus in on the data that are available at that smaller geographic area. So the residents of color is pulling on block group data from the 2020 census, and the socioeconomic disadvantage criteria is using 2023 American Community Survey data for the block group level, and focusing on federal and state level definitions of low income being 80% or lower of the county's the county's median household income. So looking at this in terms of who the people that are ultimately the residents that are captured by these maps, vulnerable communities is both sort of the most inclusive criteria and the largest geographies, captures 90% of residents, disadvantaged captures 82% of residents in the county, and severely disadvantaged 29% of residents live in these areas identified as vulnerable community tracts, disadvantaged community TASs, and severely disadvantaged community TASs. They overlap considerably, you would imagine. The orange, so is sort of the again, that census tract level. The disadvantage, because it's going for a much smaller geography, is a subset where there are some areas mostly that are overlapping and a little bit that is identified as meeting those criteria because it's focused on a smaller area, and then a little bit that gets cut out because often there's no residents in certain TASs within that whole that may have met the criteria for a census tract. The disadvantaged community TAS map will be the one used for that EJ analysis that'll be run through the RTPSES model that MCAG uses. And so 57% of the county's TASs are identified as disadvantaged community TASs. And then that subset, the dark red, is the severely disadvantaged, is entirely within that disadvantaged map. And this graphic is just for illustrative purposes, not actually percentages. One important thing that I want to clarify or make sure everyone has a shared understanding of is that just like all methodology that identifies specific disadvantaged communities that are place-based, so geographic, it uses thresholds for percentages of the population that mean that not everyone who lives in a specific census tract or TAS may have that actual experience or meet that criteria. And so because so for example, the 80% or more of residents of disadvantaged TASs, many of them have 80% or more residents of color, but most of them don't have 100% residents of color. And so they're going to be residents of disadvantaged TASs who are not as individuals or individual households disadvantaged. And similarly, there is certainly going to be residents and households that meet other definitions of disadvantaged who are living in TASs or tracts that have not been identified as disadvantaged. So using race ethnicity as just an example, the red is basically the population in those disadvantaged TASs. So going around all this, or sorry, my bad. The population of the disadvantaged TASs is the red. However, this dark blue and dark red is all of the residents of color in the county. So you can see this blue means that there's a sliver of proportion of residents of color who are not in those disadvantaged TASs. And then similarly, the not disadvantaged TASs includes about 2/3 that are, about 2/3 of the white population, white non-Hispanic population in the county is living in disadvantaged TASs because of income often or because of where they are living. Finally, and this is also included in the story map that was in the staff report shared for the meeting. This is a flowchart that sort of treats the TASs as if we were looking at each TAS on a singular level. Ultimately, it's really formulas. These criteria could be applied in any order. It doesn't matter. You'll get to the same result of certain TASs being identified as disadvantaged, others as not disadvantaged, and then ones that are also don't have residents are not considered disadvantaged. And finally, we'll go to questions in a moment. Coming up next is we'll be coming back to you in January to present the engagement findings and draft recommendations, and then we'll be finalizing the report in February and then preparing the community engagement toolkit. Thank you. Any questions or anything that I can bring back up?
Are there any questions? I'll tell you what, it's clear as mud for me. It's a lot of, it's a lot going on there. And again, I know this is another, thing that we are tasked with providing as state regulation comes down. So I thank you for your report. I don't see any questions by any of my colleagues. Are there any questions from members of the public on this item? Not seeing any. Remind everybody this is just an informational item, so there's no action to be taken. We will move on to item C. Oh, Meg, did you have anything that you wanted to follow up with? No? All right, thank you. Sorry about that. Item 8C, proposed 2026 governing board meeting dates, and we will go to Director Guzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just ask you to take a look on page 336 of your agenda. Yes, this is the proposed governing board meeting schedule for 2026. As you know, this is always a very fun exercise between now and when we always love to try to get it adopted, in the same month, but we've learned our lesson. So what we did is we reviewed this with the TRB last week. We asked them, let me back up. First, Joy works very hard to work with each of the clerks or the admin at the jurisdictions to say, here's what we're proposing. How does it look? We look for the major conference conflicts. Anybody who has schedules out for their 2026 events, we do that. That then goes to the TRB. The TRB reviewed it. We asked them to get any final comments. This is not for action today. This is just your first look at it, but it has been given to the appropriate staff at the jurisdictions, and we're looking for feedback so that we can hopefully have it approved by you all by the start of the year. I would ask just historically to please especially look in September. September has typically been the one that we have not been able to have meetings. It is an RTP year, which means it's always really important to have September free. I think we're hoping to do an RTP adoption before then, but we don't know with the federal situation. So please take a look. September is always a mess. With one comment is we've already received from Mr. Hendrickson with the county is that May could be a conflict for several board members that may have a conference that's happening that week. I'll just say Mary Michael and I looked at it again before even this meeting, and it could be nearly impossible to reschedule that meeting because we have one voice the week before. The last week of the month would probably be the one option. That's the Thursday before, I think, the Labor Day weekend, graduation season. It becomes a mess. So just for our supervisors that are directors, know that if you see a May 21 and you think, oh gosh, that's going to conflict with a conflict, we're aware of it. But it may be something that we will need to do a gauge of the board, how many folks will be going to that particular conflict versus us going dark in May, which is difficult during budget season. So our September problem might become a May problem, but we will let you know. That was a long-winded way to say, please look at this and look at your personal calendars and be ready to vote on it, hopefully by the end of the year.
Right. Any questions, comments, concerns for Stacy on this proposed 2026 calendar? Not seeing it. Right. This is an information item, so we will move right along to Item 9, there are no actions. Item 10, discussion items. Items will be presented separately in order to allow board members to ask questions or provide staff direction. And we have items A and B there. So we go to system-wide fare change, and Serenity is online. Serenity, thank you. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Directors. Thank you. So yes, as we continue to dive into our fare box and fare system upgrades, we have learned that we have one of the most complex systems in that our contractor, GenFair, has ever dealt with, and they are the largest provider of fare boxes that there is. So it's kind of saying something. So this item kind of came up to simplify our fare structure. It will be, would mark the first fare change in 13 years for TJPA. And so what we're looking to do is simplify our fare structure by moving to a single $2 fare for both local and inner city fares. Currently, we are $1.50 for local and $3 for inner city. Those fares then interchange into the differences in day passes, week passes, and so on and so forth. So again, it creates a very complex system. It's also very confusing for our passengers. If you're riding the Livingston route, but only within Livingston, are you paying a local fare? Are you paying a commuter fare? Some people end up overpaying, honestly. So we hope to simplify that for them. So again, it will go to $2, or what we're looking to do is go $2 across the board. Our day pass will go up to twice the day, or twice the one trip rate. Weekly pass will go up by $4. This equals pretty much a day saved throughout the week. And then our 31-day pass would go to increase by $10, and it does again equate to about a week saved for that pass rate. In also doing this, it allows us to implement fare capping. So fare capping means that if you don't plan ahead, and maybe you think you're only going to ride the bus once today, but something happens and you end up riding for multiple trips, and you didn't buy your day pass, so you kind of missed out on that savings. Fare capping does that for you. If you are paying on our app that we're about to be releasing, or with a credit card, the system will automatically recognize you, and it will not ever charge you more than the daily rate, the weekly rate, or the 31-day pass rate. So it definitely is a benefit to our riders and helps them just ride the system. They don't have to worry about passes or anything like that. It does that for them. We will still have passes available for passengers that are using cash, because we can't track the cash like we can track everything else. The other piece to this fare change would be the microbus. We've talked a lot about microbus already today, and how we have seen such a success with it on the west side. It was implemented as a pilot, and when it was implemented, the fare rate was just kept the same as our fixed route services at $1.50. That is a steal for microtransit services and the premium service that those passengers are getting. So what we looked at, we took a look at the other microtransit services within the valley, around the state, and everybody does it a little bit differently. But with our large service area, we thought that doing a mileage-based structure would make the most sense and be the most beneficial to the service. So we're looking at the 0 to 5 mile rate would match the single fare rate of $2. 5 to 10 miles would be $4, and so on and so forth, increasing by $2 for every 5 miles, up until 15 plus miles, where we kind of top out. Our service area is, I think the longest trip that you can kind of take is approximately 25 miles. So it's we're covering some good range over there on the west side. In looking at other systems, they're looking at probably a 7 to 10 mile range is what we found on the top end. So it was a little bit hard to compare, and we wanted to keep the rates still reasonable for our community. So that's kind of what we looked at there. Again, this would simplify everything for everybody. You don't even have to think about it. It's $2 no matter what bus you're getting on. You don't have to worry about passes, day passes, week passes, any of that. And you can just tap and go, pretty much. It's kind of what we're trying to move towards. We would like to get the board's input if we are moving in the right direction with this, if anybody thinks that we should take a look at one piece of this or another. And if the board is on board and thinks that we should move forward, we will go ahead and do public and stakeholder outreach, as well as an official Title VI fare equity analysis, and be bringing back official recommendations in Q1 of 2026. So open to thoughts, suggestions.
I just want to ask one or add one piece of clarification. Is one of the, and I'm sorry if you said this and I missed it, but one of the other things we're trying to address is an over-reliance on microtransit when they also have access to the fixed route. So for example, I'm not going to pick on Dos Palace, but I'll use Dos Palace. If you live in Dos Palace, microtransit's your way to get around town. It's excellent. You want to use it. But let's just say you go to Merced College in Los Banos. Right now, you can take microtransit all the way to Merced College. We might be taking another student to Merced College. What we want to do is we want to incentivize taking microtransit to the Y and getting on the fixed route that goes straight to the Los Banos College, right? So we don't want to price people out when it's their only choice, but we do want to incentivize folks to make the connection to the fixed route system because it's a lower cost for operations on our side, but still gives them the accessibility and the options that they need. So that, I don't know if you said that, Serenity, but that's...
No, I didn't. Thank you for bringing that up. And with that, we will continue to have transfers to fixed route from microbus. That, again, is kind of that cost savings to those. We don't want to have them paying for it twice, but we do want to have them use the fixed route when they can. Yeah.
Very good. All right. Are there any questions by members of the board on this item? It's an information item, and Serenity's looking for direction. Yes, Director Ford.
So say I want to take the
Push your microphone button.
Say I want to take the microbus from Gustine to the MCAG meeting. What would be the cost of that? Because with this $2 every 5 miles or something, I was confused as to...
Well, you would only be able to take it. You would be able to take the microbus from Gustine to Los Banos, where you would have to then connect to the Los Banos commuter and get over here to Merced.
Okay, how much would it cost me to go to Los Banos then?
Oh gosh, I don't know the exact mileage from Gustine to Los Banos. Apologies.
Let's say it's 25 miles. What would that?
It would be $8.
Because the microbus would get you a transfer onto the fixed route.
Yeah, the microbus, exactly. The microbus gets you a free transfer onto the Los Banos commuter. Yeah.
All right, that's good to know. I wish people in the community knew that too.
We are trying to get out there more. Unfortunately, some of them might hear from us the first time when we do some of these public outreach, but we've been trying to get out to what we found is the Dos Palos community the most is lesser aware of microbus.
All right.
Chair?
Yes.
One quick question.
Sure.
How many people buy weekly passes a year? Is that a big deal?
Annually, I would have to get back to you with those numbers. There's a fair amount, though, yes.
Who buy? I mean, like people with a broke down car buy them, or are these like tourists that are in the area for a week?
No, I think these are transit dependent people that don't have cars. Yeah.
Sometimes it's because they can afford to buy a pass.
Mm-hmm.
They can afford to buy a week pass, can't afford to buy a month pass, but they need to have it more regularly.
Okay. All right. Is there any members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Not seeing anyone, and I'm not hearing any other direction, so I think that you can take that as that you are, if the governing board is supportive of the proposed fee structure, staff will conduct public outreach and stakeholder engagement, complete the Title VI fair equity analysis, and return with a formal recommendation for early action in Q1 of 2026. All right, thank you. Moving on to item 10B, this is the right sizing of the hydrogen fuel trailer, and we will turn it over to Nav.
Thank you, directors. Good afternoon. Back in March, we brought an item to talk about a hydrogen pilot program. In there, we talked about a hydrogen storage trailer. The reason why I bring this up is when we had that item, when we discussed it, we talked about bringing a smaller trailer. As we did our analysis and started reviewing it and looking at our needs along with when the bids came in, we did the pros and cons between a smaller trailer, which is on the top, that GTM 1500, and the Tandem 520. The truck does not come with the trailer. So with the smaller trailer, you only get 3 fills. With the big trailer, you get up to 10 fills. The smaller trailer is more mobile. You can move it easily. You can move it around. You can put it behind a pickup truck and move it around wherever you like. The bigger one, you're going to have to need a semi to move it around. But the difference is, it's the cost, right? One of the things that's cost is also the frequencies of those trailers getting filled. So you fill up the bus 3 times, and now you have to get that trailer filled up again. Where the bigger one is you got at least up to 10 fills before you have to fill it up again. That's about almost two weeks of hydrogen versus maybe a day and a half or 2 days. So pros and cons to it. Like I said, the smaller ones are easy to move around. The larger ones are a little bit more harder to move, but if you have the right equipment, you could get it moved around. One of the reasons why staff is suggesting the Tandem 520, the bigger trailer, is when we do start putting permanent infrastructure at our facility here in Merced, we are also going to be looking at a facility on the west side of Merced County, and this trailer would be stored on the west side once we identify a property and have that facility in place. Right now, for our needs currently, the bigger Tandem 520 is going to be sufficient. Even though we're going to have one pilot bus, we are looking to purchase a permanent hydrogen bus. I want to bring an item in January. We still haven't got a PO from the vendor. Once we get a PO from the vendor, we will be bringing an item to the board to place an order for a hydrogen bus, which is around 12 to 18 months to receive that bus once we issue a PO to the vendor. So we're looking direction from the board to right size the hydrogen trailer. So, any question?
Do you want to talk about cost?
Yeah, that was going to be my.
Well, since we are still in negotiations, I could give you a range on the cost. The smaller trailer is anywhere from $250,000 to $400,000. The larger trailer is around from $700,000, depending on the vendor, to $1 million. One of the things I will say is when we released our RFP, we had 2 options: lease or purchase. When we looked at the lease option, basically we're paying for the trailer but not get to keep it. I rather, as a financial person, if I don't pay, say, $800,000 for leasing the trailer and give it back, I might as well just keep it. So that's why we're going more with a purchase option versus a leasing option. We do have a county north of us that is leasing a trailer, and it's substantially more than actually buying the trailer outright.
What's the life expectancy of the trailers?
So on these trailers right now, it's about 8 to 10 years. And then what gets replaced is those solenoids that are on the trailer, the tubes. Those what gets every year we have to maintain them, and every 8 to 10 years either we'll recalibrate them or replace them.
So the infrastructure, the trailer itself, the axle, the bed that it's on, that's all good. It's the guts inside of it that has to be replaced over time.
Oh, obviously we have to pay to replace tires over time, but
yeah. Director Pereira?
Nav, thank you for this. Have you had continuing conversation with TRC about?
TRC, since the last time, we have not had a conversation with them. Once we define what kind of trailer, then we can kind of start having the conversations again with them. One of the things with these trailers is fueling, right? The way it works is they have to trailer this truck to the fueling station. Right now, there's no storage trailer that fuels these kind of trailers right now. So, for example, the nearest fueling station is going to be in Stockton. So they'll send a truck, pick it up, go fuel it, and bring it back. So that's how all these storage fueling trailers work. Once we get a permanent facility, then they'll have to look at how they're going to, because then you have a bigger storage capacity versus 520 bars versus 5,000 bars.
Do you, if I could, Director Pereira, do you envision that fast forward when we have our own infrastructure in place and you have you have the capability to have 5,000 bars, let's say, do you anticipate that we'll be able to, instead of having to take that thing all the way to Stockton, that we could fuel
facility and
fill it there? Any other questions, comments?
I mean, it just seems like a lot of money. So that's why I'd like for you to have, I would suggest a discussion with TRC. I know they have a need for customers with hydrogen vehicles would like to test out there. And so if we could somehow work with them, and either if they're interested in putting in a permanent station, we kick in money to have access to that, and then we just go fill up there, or not, or maybe then, you know, we sell them fuel to help kind of cover our cost of.
Yeah,
doing
and that's
what
the
we do.
discretion of the board, right? Obviously, the priority number one is going to be the bus, but after that, you know, if the pleasure of the board is to have it at the base as a trailer set, and then other people can utilize it, that's the discretion of the board, right? But for this conversation, it's depending on which one is right for our agency.
I'll just say I you know, I feel like I've been saying this a lot, but you know, there are just times where, you know, like the cost is the cost, right? And some things are just so expensive. I you know, Nav and I have had, and Serenity, we've had a lot of conversation. There's a reason that Nav is leading this for a number of reasons, but I'm really concerned about, from a functionality perspective, the smaller trailer, just because it's going to take. So, I mean, we're going to be having it on the road, getting it filled so frequently. I am interested, though, as we talk about TRC, we can reach out to them again. Is, you know, while we talk about when we have our infrastructure in place here, is this trailer going to be the ability for us to expand hydrogen to the west side and have like a mobile unit out there once we have that? Or if there was an opportunity, if TRC was interested, like if they also then, when we had a facility going there. But anyway, we'll have a conversation, follow up with TRC. I just, I feel like this is one of those things that it is a really high cost, but it also is, I don't want to say necessary, but it feels like a very necessary investment if we're going to invest in hydrogen, to be able to, I like being able to, even at a very expensive investment, it's a lot less of an investment to be able to operate a pilot before we go all in on hydrogen. And it'll give us some critical experience in having that ability before. And Nav's looking at me like I said something wrong.
Well,
I know that look.
I have a personal preference.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we need to go hydrogen. I'm not saying we need to go electric. But I will say, to buy one electric charging depot, just like 2 pumps, just a unit, it's $100,000. So, you know, the state is mandating us to go zero emissions. We don't know what kind of emissions these buses are going to produce, but for us to comply, we have to look at alternative ways to either fuel them. This is one method, or we can look at putting a permanent infrastructure at our operation maintenance facility. I think the last time we got an engineering estimate is about $4.2 million.
And we also know that that for our critical commuter routes, that the battery electric technology is not the best suited. So hydrogen is the alternative. So
I will say, I mean, and the manufacturer told me this himself. He said a hydrogen bus goes almost double the range the electric bus does. So electric bus goes about 150 to 200. Hydrogen is about 400. So almost good as our diesel, but a little bit more expensive than a diesel bus.
Yeah, if I might just quickly finish. I agree with both of your assessments that the 520 makes far more sense than the 450.
Yeah, and we could utilize, like you said, Director Pereira, it could be utilized by not just our agency, but other interested parties that if they need to test hydrogen or whatever it is, that it could be utilized in the region.
Director McDaniel.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is definitely the way of the future from what we've seen, and we even know that YARTS is definitely having an interest, because right now the battery technology does not allow us to run that, and we're running clean diesel, and we've been looking at hydrogen for a while now.
Yeah. Anybody else? Director Smith?
Thank you. So Nav, when I was in 3rd grade, a hydrogen car came to my elementary school. I'm still waiting for my hydrogen car.
Toyota sells one, so just like.
So you guys, I'm just the alternate. If Matt was here, he would know the answer to this. He could also see over the screen. But I mean, what's the timeline to making a decision between electricity and hydrogen?
Well, our ICT plan does talk about having a mixed fleet. So as Stacy mentioned, those buses that are on our longer routes, the T route, which is Turlock route, LB route, the Livingston route, all the commuter routes can't be run with electric buses. We did a test pilot. You know, when the trailer route, the electric bus only did 2 loops. This bus price to take the whole day before it needs to be filled, right? As far as the decision, my goal was to bring an item back to the board next month for approval of a contract to purchase the trailer and start, you know, procuring for filling of these trailers. The goal is to have our bus in March, April, so have this in the same time as well.
Yes, I agree with Director Prayer. I think your analysis is right. The 520 makes sense. You know, my concern is, and maybe heavy vehicles are going a different direction, but domestic car manufacturers are shuttering hydrogen programs right now. So I worry that even Merced County is not going to be big enough to do something different than our neighbors or than the industry, right? So I would just caution, let's not invest too much in Betamax when VHS is becoming the standard, even if it isn't as good as the Betamax, which it wasn't.
Yeah. Director Pacheco.
Just maybe kind of see the question. So the trucks that are going to be pulling these hydrogen trailers, are they going to be electric or hydrogen or diesel?
You want my honest opinion? It's going to be a diesel truck. And it might be a hydrogen truck. I mean, they might fuel it, but it's up to the fueler, whatever the trucks that get utilized.
Just a couple comments on. I mean, it's a big number that we're investing into. We don't even have a bus yet, right? And that's it's scary. So then the next question would be is can we afford it?
Yes, we do have a funding called SB 125 with the state allocated. We do have money set aside for our hydrogen fueling station. I think we have about more than what we need right now. I don't want to say a number because I don't want to be wrong, but it's more than $1 million.
Okay, and then it just, and maybe where Shane, I'll just say is like when we talk about YARTs and zero emissions, and we know that because of topography going up into YARTs or going up to Yosemite now, electric's never going to be the answer. I can't see it even in my lifetime. Just if somehow, well, you had the idea, we'll put the infrastructure in to be able to charge them up in the mountains, right? We can't get the buses up there. If we fly them up there, they can get down the hill. We just can't get them up the hill is the problem. And with environmental regulation, I just don't see us tearing up Yosemite National Park to put in, electrical infrastructure up there. So I know that it's coming, and I guess what does it for me, yeah, it makes sense, the bigger trailer, but when we talk about it, and we have talked about when we move some kind of the bus to the west side, we don't have to go spend the multi-millions of dollars putting in the infrastructure again. We have a way of being able to do it. So, and again, I think it's probably, if we're going to spend the money, spend it right. Nobody wants to. It's kind of a big number for a trailer. Again, I missed my calling in life. I should have been a hydrogen fuel cell trailer maker.
And I will say we got 5 bids. All of them use the same trailer as a proposal. It just, like I said, I'll bring an item to the board, but everybody has a different pricing because of they want to get in the game.
Yeah. Okay.
I have to say one thing.
Go for it.
I'm sorry. Just so I don't know if Director Smith you've had your whole question answered, but we don't have a hydrogen electric decision point in the future. We did our required innovative clean transit plan and that came, I think, a year ago or so. And the recommendation there was a hybrid, as Nav mentioned, based on the type of bus that's needed on the length of the route. So we are making headway in both pursuing battery electric where those buses are performing well, and then looking at kind of tiptoeing in. I know this doesn't feel like a tiptoe at $1 million, but we're running this pilot to get some early experience to figure out, but we need to be able to fuel, and we know that at least on the yard side there's going to be a permanent need. So we don't have another decision point. The only thing we're being driven by, truthfully, is the state's requirement for us to have a certain percentage of our new bus procurements be zero emission. So we're trying to match those requirements with the fleet need based on what's electric and what's going to be hydrogen. So I don't know if that helps, but I felt like that was a part of your question, or maybe I misunderstood.
No, you are, and I'm just I'm only here a couple of times a year. I'm just sharing my perspective, but I guess two reactions to that. One, YART seems to be a different problem than the bus. Maybe hydrogen makes sense for YARTS, which is a different government. But also just, and this is just a comment, it just seems to me that this is another thing that gets foisted on us by the state that's really unfair for a small county to have to deal with.
Bing, bing, bing.
I know you all disagree at that point vehemently.
All right,
Thank you, Nav.
Is there any comments from the public on this item? Not seeing anyone. This was an information item. Nav, thank you. All right, we're going to move quickly through the executive director's report and then director's reports, and then we will ask all those not involved that we have a couple closed session items. So,
thank you. I'll be quick. All right, just a couple of announcements that I want to make for our board. I had the opportunity to sit and participate in a CTC HCD CARB joint meeting a couple of weeks ago in Sacramento. It was with the Big Four, which are the four large regions, the four large MPOs in the state. So for the San Joaquin Valley to be invited to be part of that conversation was really interesting. I did not decline it. I accepted it proudly. And so I represented the Valley more broadly on the impacts of the federal rescission that it's having on project delays and implications, and then also specifically, and really what I know that the CTC's invitation for us to do that was for to represent the project in the state that is really first in line to be impacted, which is the AME. So great progress there, good conversation. Also want to say thank you to many of you who participated in the CTC events when we hosted, and a special thanks to the City of Merced, which was our excellent partner in providing the location and figuring everything out, as it was TransDev, our transit operator, in providing the transit service for our tour, and the county staff for helping us get the inland port right front and center for our honored guests to go visit. Also, this week, if you have not seen on social media, we are running a partnership campaign with United Way and the Merced County Food Bank called Stuff the Bus. We've done these partnerships in the past with toys around the holiday season. So this year, it originally was came to mind and implemented very quickly to do a bus around the county to collect food as part of the very focused effort around the what is it now, CalFresh crisis, but it also just is a very important thing that we continue into the holidays, as we know this is a difficult time for a lot of families. So I was out in Atwater. I think if you saw Mary Michael and others were out there before the sun with ABC 30. So thank you for the team. We will be in Las Banas, Gustine, and Delhi tomorrow, Dos Palace, and Las Banas on Saturday. Okay, so there you go. We'll make sure to resend the flyer out. I'll do that when we're done here, because I told I was going to be brief and I'm not being brief. Last thing we have is on your seat. There's a flyer of our open house. It will be immediately following the December board meeting. Please come meet Santa. Take a picture. It's family friendly. Bring your kids, bring your friends, whomever you'd like. And we will have a great end of the year. So thank you all. Have a very happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Stacy. Director Smith, anything?
No, thank you.
Director Pereira, Director Pacheco, Director McDaniel.
I would like to share, I'm very thankful that Stacy did take that opportunity, because AME is at the tip of the spear on what's going on. And I think we've had some other meetings since then, and we feel like the federal EPA is moving forward on our project and accepting our solution that we've proposed. So I just want to thank her for her efforts on that, and for our federal lobbyists too, for Merced County. So they've been working together, and it sounds very positive. Thanks.
Director Ambill, Director Reed, Director Ford, Director Kale, Council. I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and we will now adjourn into closed session. Again, all not invited parties, please leave. We're going to do our closed session in here. please, Leah. That was nice.
So that you're all aware, if when there is a closed session item or any item on the agenda that is directly involving the agency that you represent,
Yeah, I mean, I think we should
money we would have, but it's what's in the budget.
What we have in the budget
Without a
for this
budget
project.
amendment, yeah. Well, 21 an acre, it's 3.381.
Can we share this with directors if they request to see the appraisal? Because there's, I mean, I could run down, there's selling prices of, you know, there's one in some part of Merced is 20,000, 19, 18, 15, and 13. So they're all over the place. They're not, but
Whenever we're live, Joy, just let me know so I can.
SNL live or just regular live?
Both. All right, we are now back out of closed session. Staff was given direction on items A and 15A and B in closed session. If there is no further business before the board, the meeting is adjourned at 5:01 p.m. Thank you, everybody.